What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Man Up. I'm back in the man cave today. I know last week I was not able to be in here, but I'm back in here now. I had to come back in here to start some noise to my fellow comrades, my fellow partners in crime. Who I got joining me today?
Cedric D in the place to be.
It hasn't changed. We've been the same people every week.
Alrighty, y'all. Today's topic is going to be what y'all saw. The other wrestling factions and stables. Now, to clarify something, because I had a conversation with someone who may be watching right now. When we say factions, it is 3 or more people in that group. For example, we all know the Bloodline is a faction. We all know what's the other one? I can't think off the top of my head. Golly, I'm drawing a blank, but we all know just 3 people, 3 or more in a faction. The Nation of Domination, things like that. With that being said, this is not a top 5. We're just listing off some that we like. We're gonna discuss it. We're gonna try to have a great conversation again today.
Of course.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it.
And you already brought up one of them, the factions. Because when anybody thinks about factions, the first thing that would come to mind, NWO, D-Generation X, Bullet Club. Okay, I lost my train of thought.
The Four Horsemen.
Four Horsemen. There we go. They think about all those different factions, whatnot, as the standard bearers. But what we want to do is like those other ones, those other underrated ones, or not so underrated ones, and we're gonna talk about them. And you mentioned one, the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
I believe in last week's show we talked about Farouk Hassan wearing that with that stupid ass helmet that they debuted him with when he debuted against Ahmed Johnson. They got rid of that thing and they came with the militant leader of the Nation of Domination and they were off to the races.
Yeah.
Oh, and think about the folks that went into that group. Mark Henry, who WWF signed, he was floating out there in the wind, not really doing nothing with him. They put him in the Nation.
Yeah.
He had D'Lo Brown. They had him in there as well. After WrestleMania 13, because remember in the Nation they had all the other folks that was a part of the Nation. They had Clarence Mason, their attorney. They had PG-13 as the hype man. They're doing rapping, and whatnot. They had all these guys. But then they streamlined it, especially when they brought in Kamal Mustafa. Then they brought in The Rock.
Yeah.
So very, very, very underrated. And if I'm not, but I'm awesome faction. But title wise, I think The Rock was the only person in the Nation that whoever got a title. Am I right?
No, D'Lo had the European belt in there quite a bit.
Now, was it when he was in the Nation though?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he had it.
All right, okay.
I'm pretty sure he had the European title in the Nation for a while because I remember because I want to say whenever DX, I know when DX did that parody that they had the European title, that they did not, but I want to say that Triple H I think when Triple H had it, he dropped it to D'Lo, and I think D'Lo dropped it to X-Pac, and then I think it went back to D'Lo, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm just pulling it up. I'm anal like that, so I'm like, not saying you're wrong, but it's like so much history.
We all know Rock had the Intercontinental Championship. Mark Henry Mark Henry got a belt after the Nation, so no mind.
Okay. So yeah. Triple H then D'Lo, X-Pac then D'Lo, then X-Pac won it again. So
yeah.
Okay.
It went back and forth a bunch of times, and then
yeah. Alrighty. So just wanted to clarify that, and then also too, we're not talking about the well-known factions. Like I said, like he said, the Bloodline, the Judgment Day, the NWO, DX.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about anything current.
Well, no, I'm just saying
anything current.
No, I'm just saying period. I'm just saying period. We're talking about the factions that were good, but they didn't get the push like they should have, if that makes sense.
I kind of think the Nation of Domination did get the push, and especially with The Rock, and then and like I said before we went on air, I really do think you're looking Nation of Domination. I believe will definitely go in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, what formation or group, who knows? Because look what they did with the NWO. Buff Bagwell didn't get in the WWE Hall of Fame. They cherry-picked on that.
X-Pac went in there with the damn NWO Wolfpack. Wow. But whatever. Anyway.
No. Just to clarify, man, up in regards to our topic. The groups that we're talking about today aren't when you think of factions and stables are not the first one that come off of somebody's lips.
I know that's what I'm saying.
Because I just want to clarify that because it's one of those four that someone will say first, then they will say something else. Like this next one, three or more people.
Mm-hmm.
The Freebirds.
Yeah.
The Freebirds. Revolutionary. Hell, they got where we have tag team with two people. They created the Freebird rule in regards to when they defend titles and whatnot. They had the free. They did outstanding work in where territory they went to, whether it's in Georgia, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in Mid-South. The Freebirds freaking did freaking work. Then different variations. Like the different variation went to Mid-Atlantic, WCW, NWA, that territory, and it did outstanding. Hayes and Garvin won the World Tag Team titles, U.S. Tag Team titles.
I think when they won the World Tags, Gordy interfered to cost them, and helped them win it. So it brought it back to a faction there because for a while, for months there, they were just a tag team, and then Gordy came back in the territory and kind of tied it back in.
Exactly. Okay. So just little name. Joey, what you got, bro?
I got to bring up one of my favorite all-time factions that never gets the credit except for when Medusa was put in the Hall of Fame, and that is Paul E. Dangerously's Dangerous Alliance.
Yes!
Yes! They never get the credit, but that was a red-hot heel faction in WCW. My God.
If they had about 2 or 3 more years as a stable, they would be in the discussion that we had with was coming to talk about. They only ran for like a year and a half, 2 years, if that.
Yeah. That's a shame too. It just things changed and Paulie left the company eventually, and I think that's kind of where it ended. But I thought they had a nice dynamic since Rude was kind of the biggest star he was kind of the leader of the group and stuff.
Yeah, listen, Rude, U.S. champion, Steve Austin, TV champion, Arn and Larry, World Tag Team champion. Dude!
And then Arn and Beautiful Bobby were the World Tag Team champions in it too.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
hey, that was a good one. That was good.
Man.
And Medusa, you got to include Medusa because
exactly.
She spent most of the time accompanying Ravishing Rick Rude to ringside, and Heyman kind of accompanied the others mostly. But I mean, it was the way it came together was beautiful, and I will never forget that red hot match with Sting and Ravishing Rick Rude where Luger clipped his knee out, and took him out, and then he came back from the hospital. Hobbling on that knee and Rude.
Story. Yes.
Yeah, that was great. And then Rude taking the title, becoming one of the top heels in the company right off the bat. And then Sting subsequently going after Luger for the world championship, which is obviously where that was going. But
I love Ravishing Rick Rude's debut.
Oh, it's the Halloween Phantom?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
You didn't know who it was until he hit the Rude Awakening, and then it was like, oh crap!
I love that. That was I was like, yes.
As far as anybody knew before that, we didn't know he wasn't still in the WWF. So it was like it was a big deal. It was like Rick Rude's in WCW, like
exactly.
And then to go straight to the top and work with Sting for the US title was whew.
Makes me want to jump on Peacock Network and freaking watching that stuff, man. That was freaking beautiful.
It helped do a lot for Steve Austin too. Like it gave him a platform. He was relatively unknown, and he had come in with Jeannie, Lady Blossom or whatever they called her at ringside with it, but that did not work out really. And she just looked out of place out there too. She looked like she didn't know what to do or anything. So when
she was easy on the eyes, though. I mean, I was a teenager. She was easy on the eyes. I'm just saying.
But Paul Lee knew what to do at ringside. Paul Lee knew where to be at the right time, where to, how to interfere, how to get the whole thing over and make Steve Austin a bigger heel. Man, and that's just, such an underrated group. I hope they do go in the Hall of Fame together one day.
They might.
What's left of the group?
Sadly, yeah. Sadly, yeah. I got to go back and watch that the War Games they were in.
Oh, okay. All right, my first one is going to be only one person was really stable in that group, and y'all know who it is when I say the Cabinet. And JBL was the man, of course, but that group, of course, they was a heel, whether you liked them or not. I think they was underrated. I don't think Orlando Jordan got a good title run with the U.S. title.
Okay.
I like the fact that JBL had his 2 security guards watching his back all the time, stuff like that. It was a cool group back in those days. Of course, Orlando Jordan was feuding, and JBL, I should say, both feuding with John Cena. I like the fact how I don't, as far as I can think of, I don't think this ever was done before when they blowing up a damn title. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. I thought that was awesome. How they did that. And to me, that group should have lasted a little bit longer than what it did. Now, don't get me wrong, it was cool, but I think the Cabinet should have been, I guess you say, should have been around.
Okay.
Another year or so.
I'll preface with this. During that run that they had, what other factions were in WWE?
On SmackDown, I guess, specifically.
Yeah,
we know Evolution was on Raw, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah,
exactly.
Nexus came after them.
Right.
That's a long time after.
None. I can think off the top of my head right now.
Exactly. But I was say that was there another one that kind of took away the thunder of the Cabinet, because it's like it's one of those that we didn't really freaking talk about. For the most part, I actually forgot about that one, but yeah, it's like it's like that basic formula. Have a good core around you to protect the championship.
And it wasn't like today's factions to where, they were doing some cheating, some, sneaky-handed shit. But JBL lost the title, got it back. Lost title, got it back. And every time he won it back, it's morning again, shit like that. It was funny as hell.
He had the title once.
Huh?
JBL only won the WWE Championship one time.
Well, no, I'm just saying, because he had the U.S. title before too, when he was starting up the Cabinet. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying.
No.
Acknowledge yourself.
Hold on. I think we got our timelines off here because he was the champion.
He won the U.S. title. He won the U.S. title at WrestleMania 22 off of Benoit.
Yeah, when Jillian was his manager. That was post Cabinet, right?
That was after that time. Okay, we will come back. We're gonna clean that up in a minute. But yeah, so it's like they protected them for the championship, but then like right after that, you ain't really see the Cabinet.
And I'm trying to say, didn't Benoit I mean, not Benoit. Didn't JBL beat Benoit for the no?
For the U.S. title, yes, he did.
You beat Eddie Guerrero for the WWE.
He beat Eddie
Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, that's 2
I'm
years.
having a brain fart.
Yeah.
I'm having a brain fart.
Hey, that's why we're here, man. That's why we're here.
But you know why?
Between time.
But you know why the cabinet didn't work out is because the Bashams and Orlando Jordan weren't long for the WWE right after that. Right after he dropped the belt, those guys were all unemployed for right after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brown Tiger. Brown Tiger. I think might be a little late to the party. We're covering those factions that don't get that publicity when you think of factions and stables. Everyone talks NWO. Everyone talks Horsemen. Everyone talks DX. Everyone talks Bullet Club. But we're talking about those factions that nobody talks about, but definitely had their own touch on the wrestling landscape. And Joey brought up my next one, Evolution.
I think they well. Go ahead.
Yeah. Evolution did not run long.
No,
and that's probably why they're not in that discussion, because they were 1 to 2 years as well. But you have Ric Flair, the wily veteran, Triple H, who's coming into his prime, 2 young studs in Randy Orton and Batista.
Well, one young stud. Batista about the same age as Triple H.
Real young studs. All of them bona fide Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
But at that point when they started that faction, whoo, that's called trouble. It was that next phase of Horsemen without calling them Horsemen, but it had the same principles.
And Flair was more in the J.J. Dillon role, where he was the player coach. And they basically had their hands in all the gold, with Batista and Flair being tag champions, Orton the Intercontinental, and Hunter as the world champion. Yeah.
Let's clarify something real quick before we move forward. We want to make sure everybody understand it's 3 or more in a group to be a faction. Mm-hmm. Not 2 people, that's a tag team.
Right.
3 or more. All right, go ahead, Joey.
No, I was going to say, I think, if you go back, if you've watched the stories on it about, people always talk about Mark Jindrak was originally supposed to be in Batista's spot, but which would have been disastrous compared to what had happened, because obviously Jindrak, was a decent talent, but he didn't look like Batista. He didn't have the talent Batista had. So, that's one of those things Triple H and Ric Flair, or Triple H and Flair, knew better than to let that go on. But I think the group was really decided, to support Triple H like we talked about, but then to get Randy Orton ready for that next spot. And the funny thing was, it worked. Randy got ready, but what Randy lacked in maturity, Batista ended up getting, because Batista was a little older and was kind of more ready, and ended up getting a little bit more quicker, in the long run out of that. But yeah, you can't deny the impact they had on WWE at the time, and it created, people always criticize Triple H and stuff like that, but it was truly his time. But look at all the stars he made and attempted to make during that time. He used it, kind of for good there. People just got sick of him finding a way to beat people, but it's the same thing. But you can't deny how great that was, and extended the career of Ric Flair. It
really did.
It gave them all something to do, and it was good.
Randy's group, I can't remember the name. Legacy. That's Legacy. That Randy Orton.
We talked about that last week.
Ted DiBiase. We covered a little bit of that last week. Again, the premise for it was there. All of them coming from all of them being second generation or higher talent, whatnot. At the time, Randy was the leader, Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr.
You forgot the 4th member now. Don't forget Manu.
Again, it's kind of like goes into the topic when those forgotten ones. I forgot all about dude until you just said it.
Well, Manu didn't. One of these things was not like the other. 3 people had 6-pack abs, and one, and it didn't work out. He didn't fit the aesthetic.
Sir, you get into the cosmetics of wrestling again, sir?
No, I'm just saying it was. Listen, you can't tell me back in that time when you saw that on TV. If you think about it, like you were like, "Oh, okay," you know.
All right. Just a quick plug. If you haven't seen our Cosmetics of Wrestling show, that was 2 weeks ago. You go up back on the channel and check that out. That was an interesting discussion as well. We were talking about the Cosmetics of Wrestling. Sorry, quick plug there.
It's okay. I was going to go into and share another one that I think everybody forgets about, and that is it's ECW. It's Shane Douglas's Triple Threat.
Oh, forgot all about them.
Yes.
I used to love that. I wasn't a huge ECW fan, but I did watch that.
So
yeah,
if you remember, the first iteration was Douglas with Malenko and Benoit was the original Triple Threat.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was pre them going to WCW and Shane going to WWE.
Okay.
Whenever Shane came back, he put the famous trio that we all know with Candido and Bam Bam Bigelow together, and with Francine, give her props too as kind of the manager of the Triple Threat. But I like how it had, there was levels to it, including when Bam Bam and Shane got after each other for a little bit, and Lance Storm was like the Triple Threat prodigy,
right?
That was associated. He was like the Luger. He never fully was taken.
He was an associate.
Yeah, and that's kind of how Luger was, in the Four Horsemen. I think that's probably where they got that from. Lance was being groomed to be in the Triple Threat. He was tag champions with Candido. And then when Bigelow returned and they all turned their back on Lance Storm, if you remember, it had that weird dynamic where Candido and Lance Storm were still the tag team champions. And it went on for months with them wanting to fight each other, but defending the belts successfully. And I think they were the ones that, if I'm not mistaken, that lost the belts to Van Dam and Sabu.
Man, so look at...
This is a lot of great wrestling history.
Yeah, man.
A lot of great wrestling history.
You forget, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to forget about.
And I really think if you're a fan of Bam Bam Bigelow and you're not familiar with his ECW career, man, you're missing out. Like he was something else in ECW. He was definitely at his best there. And it's amazing that, all the people he worked for, Vince, and working in WCW and everything like that, they never really saw what Heyman saw in him.
Right.
But, he ended up with the ECW world title and the world TV title at one point. But the Triple Threat definitely fits that same kind of element that you see with the Horsemen with Evolution, where it was kind of, Shane Douglas was the centerpiece of it, and he was the world champion. And it was a great group. And Shane, Shane was at his best during that
Triple Threat.
Gotcha. I got one. Y'all kind of touched on it already. And I'm talking about when this group came to the WWE, not before that. It was a good group, but to me, I don't think they lasted long enough. And I don't think they just do. And I'm talking about the Radicals. When they came to the WWE, I remember them when they, I guess, made their debut. They were sitting in the crowd. They hopped the barricade. You had Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero. I thought that group was awesome in WCW.
They weren't a group in WCW.
They weren't.
They
were just associated with each other because all of them left at that same time.
Yeah.
Because Benoit just won the world title. He actually left.
I know. He forfeited and left. He said he going to the Federation.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. All of them came. They were put together because they all came together at the same time. But behind the scenes, I think they were all cool.
Yeah. They weren't attached to WCW.
But that's what I'm saying, though. When they was in WCW, they was awesome.
Yeah.
But when they came to WWE, I don't think they lasted long enough as a group. That's what I'm saying.
But
and I think I don't know. I just think that group could have been more dominant than what they was. You got Perry Saturn, great talent, got a nice looking look to him, got a good look to him. How you gonna make him fall in love with a fucking mop? Excuse my language. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. It's all good. And I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The last two topics that give me an idea for a future show for us, and which we rank the runs of different wrestlers. We're ranking them from three to one. We can discuss that, but that's something later. But once you got to WWE, we know it's all about characters and everything else.
Yeah,
they would tend to be a little bit more outside of the box a little bit in that regard. I get it. Perry Saturn, badass with the Eliminators in ECW. Oh, the Eliminators. That was huge in ECW. Then he with the Flock in WCW. That's another underrated faction right there.
But see, the only one that the Radicals that really made something about themselves, we know that's Eddie Guerrero. Because when he left, well, yeah, Benoit did too. But we were talking about that before we came on. Uh-huh. But I'm not going to get into that. Yeah. But I'm just saying, Eddie Guerrero was really to me the star. That's it. Now I'm not saying Benoit wasn't no star.
Right. Eddie became a much bigger star. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Don't get me wrong with that. But Brown Tiger, what about Hardcore Holly, Crash Holly, Molly Holly?
The Hollies.
It was short. I get what they was doing. I get what they was doing with that. But it was short. It was a good way. It was a good way to bring Nora on as a character
and Crash.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good freaking platform. What his weight is over 500 pounds.
Yeah, like they brought the scale out. That was great.
That was a good little gimmick there, man. I dug that.
Super heavyweights, yeah.
Exactly. There it is.
Yeah.
But going back to the Radicals, I don't think it needs to be said too. Dean Malenko was a little bit older than the rest of them.
He was,
and his bump card was just about full. I think they could have done more with Dean in the long run if he'd been 5 years younger like the rest of them. And
because he really hit his stride, helping that WCW Cruiserweight division. That.
And that's the problem in WWE is look who he had to work with in that Cruiserweight division, and it wasn't there. He could not do his style in WWE. There just wasn't people. You can't get in there with a guy like Crash and a guy like Jerry Lynn and have the same magic he did with the Luchadors and with Ultimo Dragon and Chris Jericho and people like that. So he never got that opportunity to kind of get to work. They stuck him with the light heavyweight title, and they really didn't have a lot of people for him to work with. Just it was like, here's a belt.
I forgot he was light heavyweight champion. Hell,
So that's why I said great wrestling history.
I like to think I know a little bit about wrestling, just a little bit, but it's still like stuff like you forget though. It's like
Hey, out of sight, out of mind. You have to really think about stuff. Hey, get to you, Brown Tiger. I think that was cool, them three, but the Hollies, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I would have put them on my list.
Well, they're not
bad. I love Hardcore Holly. We all love Hardcore Holly.
I don't.
Hey, Crash Holly.
He's like, I don't. Tell us how you really feel, sir.
But yeah, I thought they were cool. What you got there?
Getting back to certain fate. I I want to touch on that before I get on my Brown Tiger said Ravens flock. It was different because they're all it was like a collection of misfit wrestlers.
Yeah. Gave Scotty Riggs something to do. It gave Scotty Riggs. Remember when Raven dropped toe hold him into the chair, and then he wore that eye patch forever, like his eye had fallen out or whatever because Raven did a drop toe hold into a chair.
Yeah. Yes. Billy Kidman walking around scratching himself.
yeah, like a heroin addict or whatever. Yeah, that was
exactly. So it was different. It was different.
But I mean, you think it launched Kidman because Kidman, nobody really cared about him before that. Then, and there you go. It gave him something, and Kidman, became a mainstay in the cruiserweight division after that.
Yeah. Demon Malenko had two title runs.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think he swapped it with Crash.
I forgot that he held the title, honestly, because like you said, it's like WWF did not put a spotlight on that light heavyweight division.
They're just like, here's a belt.
Exactly. They're like, okay, we'll find somebody for you to wrestle.
Yeah, a smaller guy.
It's kind of like how WWF was with the women's title, in which they had to find people for Alundra Blaze to wrestle.
Yeah, really. They just brought in everybody she wrestled in Japan.
Exactly.
Who'd have you wrestled before that we can book? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make that phone call. We'll get them over here. Yeah. Then they had the little agreement they had with what was it, All Japan or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but yeah. I want to touch on some of the stables from back in the day. It definitely like in a particular era of it of the faction. I want to highlight the Jimmy Hart's Hart Foundation at circa around June 1987. He already.
Well, you're talking about a different Hart Foundation, aren't you? He's talking about the Jimmy Hart.
I'm actually talking about Jimmy Hart's around 1987. Right after Honky Tonk Man won the Intercontinental title, the Hart Foundation was already the World Tag Team Champions. So Jimmy Hart had the Intercontinental and the Tag Team title up until November of that year. So definitely an underrated time for them. I don't know if you were talking about the Hart Foundation with Brett, Owen, and all of them. That was during the Attitude Era. I don't know if you were talking about them, man up.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's a different iteration of it.
I know, but that's what I thought you were talking about at first.
No. I was talking about that. No, back after the Hart Foundation, they beat the Bulldogs. They beat the Bulldogs. Then Honky Tonk Man beat Steamboat for the Intercontinental title. That was the version I was talking about. I literally forgot about
Danny Davis in it too.
Say again.
Danny Davis was
exactly
part of it too.
And correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't get much publicity, but Jimmy Hart also had the women's tag team titles as well, the Glamour Girls.
Yeah.
Forgot about them.
Exactly. So, but again, it wasn't promoted as much.
Yeah.
So you will see them here and there, but yeah.
To hit on what Brown Tiger said, it commented too. LAX wasn't really a faction; it was more of a tag team. Konnan was the manager, Homicide and Hernandez, exactly. And then later, Ortiz and Santana were with either Eddie Kingston or whatever. But it was always more of a tag team; it wasn't a faction. But it brings me to a good faction to bring up.
Okay.
The 3 Live Crew.
Okay.
If you don't know, it was you got Ron the Truth Killings, BG James, the Road Dogg, aka, and Konnan were actually, they did the Freebird rule as a tag team, but they were a faction running around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's definitely an underrated group.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I was talking about the Hart Foundation with Brett, Owen, all of those. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's underrated, though.
You wouldn't? I would, because I think they should have been better than what they was. Put it like that.
It was a good compliment to what everyone else was. Whereas it was the rise of Stone Cold, whatnot, and Bret was with the rise of Stone Cold. Bret's popularity was going down. He was. That's when he had Bret Hart was hated in the
Hispanic NWO. Hold on,
Canada, and they played off of that a whole lot. So it kind of served that purpose as well. Owen and Davey had their hands in gold as well. So
there's one definite reason they're not. Now I guarantee you the reason the Hart Foundation was put in as a tag team versus that group is because they're not going to put Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. His ex-wife will not. His widow is not going to allow that. So I don't think they're underrated because I think they definitely would be in the Hall of Fame if they could put him in like that.
Exactly.
But they can't put Owen in the Hall of Fame. It's never going to happen. So the Hart Foundation from 97 is never going to the Hall of Fame.
They will not do that Hart Foundation, that version of the Hart Foundation without Owen.
Right. Jim definitely deserved to go in, which is why the Hart Foundation went in as a tag team. You had to get Jim Neidhart in the Hall of Fame.
And I was just going to say, I think the legacy is kind of living on with his daughter Natalia, but I liked that group, but I think they should have. I guess you're right. Bret was he winding down, things like that, and I don't know. I just feel like that group should have lasted a lot longer.
Well, maybe in a different.
We know why it didn't.
Yeah.
So what, Joey?
We know why it didn't. Bret left the company.
Well, I know that. But I'm just saying, I just feel like it should have lasted a lot longer.
It probably would if it had stayed with the company. But the purpose of that group essentially was to continue to help build up their new baby face.
Yeah,
Stone Cold.
Yeah,
that was the purpose.
But I mean, let's be honest too, and Bret would know this. The intention, you could tell the intention for the long-term storytelling was always for Shawn to drop the title to Steve Austin. You could just tell that was the way they went. That's why the year prior, Shawn and Austin had that brief run with the tag titles, and the stories were intertwining to where at the time, Shawn was still a babyface, and before he eventually turned heel and joined up with Chyna and Hunter. Mm-hmm. There was definitely some storytelling there. I have no doubt in my mind that the long-term idea was always for Shawn to be the one to drop the title to Austin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
can't argue that one. And
you call it the Generation X. It's like,
yeah,
it's like we're gonna lead back to that group somehow, some way.
Exactly. So,
but Brown talking about Hispanic NWO. What he know about them?
The Latino World Order, not the Hispanic NWO. Oh my God!
The LWO.
Sound like you're part of Border Patrol or something. I mean, I don't know what the Hispanic NWO. I'm like, God, Lee, man, hold on now. Let's be politically correct. The Latino World Order. Eddie Guerrero's group, yeah.
Oh man.
Remember Rey Mysterio in that size 2XL LWO shirt? like he had on.
Chris, what's going on, brother?
What's going on there, Chris? Who you got there?
Another one was one of my favorites growing up. The Heenan family.
Ah, yeah.
It's like Bundy, Stud. It's like, Jesus, like,
giants all around him. Yeah,
exactly. But
Mr. Wonderful was in it too at that time, right? But after he turned heel, he joined up with Bobby and them.
Exactly. Yeah, it was constantly bringing folks in. Even Brooklyn Brawler and the Red Rooster were members of the Heenan family at one point. I mean, good Lord. It's like,
but we got to focus on Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, the Brain Busters.
The Brain Busters. Bobby had the Intercontinental and Tag Team titles at the same time as well.
Yeah.
He had it for a little bit of time. So,
maybe more than once, because remember Andre and Haku
and
had the tag belts
had it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when Rude had the IC title, I think.
We're gonna make people go on Peacock and look at a whole lot of That's what we're gonna eventually do. Because I'm telling y'all, I'm not knocking today's wrestling at all.
No.
But if you look at some of the old school wrestling, you're gonna see where they mimicking today's wrestling. Today's wrestling is mimicking yesterday's wrestling.
There's nothing original, not that much original in today's wrestling. It's just something that they used back then. They just putting the little flavor of on now. That's all it is.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
So I mean,
what you got, Joey?
I give a shout out to the Blue World Order.
You went there.
And Cedric, you be talking about me.
What? We said underrated factions. You named Evolution. They're going to go in the Hall of Fame together.
The blue guy.
You think so?
Is Evolution going in the WWE? Yeah.
No, you said Blue World Order.
No. I said I don't really consider. We're talking about underrated, forgotten factions, and to me, like Evolution, Heart Foundation 97, all these groups. Those are all. They're not forgotten. Those are all like high caliber factions that are Hall of Fame bound. If it weren't for Owen not going in the Hall of Fame, Evolution's going in the Hall of Fame. Hopefully before Flair passes, but that's happening. You know that's happening.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what
I think. The only reason they're holding off is they were waiting to put Batista in by himself first, and that fell through because he was supposed to be in that class with Kane.
He said he didn't want to, because he wanted to make at that time. I know things have changed now, but he said at that time he wanted to make sure his wrestling career was over. That's why he didn't want to go in yet.
Yeah.
Well, now I think he's sure. Now he wants to go ahead and go in.
The BWO was hilarious, though. I mean, it just was. They are underrated. They even had that little comeback in WWE at the time. But yeah, I mean, it was good. And I mean, there were other members at one time, because I remember they had a Dennis Rodman knockoff in it, a Six Pac knockoff. There was all kind of ridiculous. But you had the core group with Nova and Stevie Richards and Blue Meanie.
Okay. I see your Blue World Order, and I raise you the Dudley family.
Man, that was my next one.
The Dudley family. No, I'm talking about the ECW Dudley family.
Was Spike Dudley? Was Spike Dudley?
Let's see. Hold on, man. Up now. Quiz you. Besides Spike, Bubba, and Devon, name some other Dudley family members.
I don't remember all of those in ECW. It was like 6 of them. It wasn't that many. I can't remember
another one now. We got to check your knowledge.
Come on.
But I remember that because that's when they all joined. They were throwing chairs in the ring, all that shit. Excuse my language, sorry. But I remember that. I cannot think of the names though, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, dude. I was there because I love freaking Gertner's freaking introduction of him. It's freaking amazing. The silence behind the violence. The silencer. Sign Guy Dudley.
Yeah.
And then everyone's favorite Dudley, Big Dick Dudley. Are we allowed to say that?
25 inches of arm. That's the creature that last night impregnated your mother. Big Dick Dudley.
And who can forget one of my all-time favorite, Dances with Dudleys?
Exactly.
the Native American member.
Oh my gosh. Dude, freaking Gardner, man. Gardner was like, he had me rolling.
Yeah.
The most righteous brother in the building.
Joe Man.
Juan Dudley.
The quintessential stun muffin.
And a good goddamn handsome man. Just like Rubik's Cube, the more you play with it, the harder it gets. Dude, Gardner was underrated, sir.
No, he's great.
Oh my God, he's awesome, dude. Freaking Joel
We almost, originally when they had the Rainbow Express, it was supposed to be like a 3-person group with Joel Gertner as the mouthpiece in TNA, and that would have been great too. But I remember that Lodi got hurt before the first TNA pay-per-view, and then we got Lenny Lane and what's his name, Kiwi as a tag team, and Gertner. I remember Gertner did the introductions, or I think, and
oh gosh.
Yeah. What about I'll give you another ECW one. What about the Impact Players?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I gotta consider them as a faction because you had Jason, who wrestled part-time.
Yeah.
You had Dawn Marie.
Just incredible. That's Storm, Dawn Marie. Dawn Marie, Lord have mercy.
Tammy Lynn Bitch.
Yeah, I know, right?
Stuff was good.
The Impact Players. Man.
That was the highlight for me of one of the highlights for me when they did ECW One Night Stand when Lance wrestled Jericho was the whole Impact Player reunion when Justin Credible came out there and caned Jericho and cost him the match, and Lance got the big win, and then they did the pose with all of them in there and Jason and that was that for me. You missed that, but we were talking about the Impact Players in ECW with Jason was kind of a player coach because he wrestled sometimes, and then he was the manager too. And then you had Dawn Marie, aka Tammy Lynn Bitch, and then you had Lance Storm and Justin Credible together. But that was what, if you remember, if you watched the ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view back in 2005, that was a highlight for me. Because we got Jericho and Lance Storm, and they were able to go out there and wrestle. Nice. It wasn't a WWE style match, and it was beautiful because he came out as Lionheart.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that now.
Yeah, it's great, man. Because I'll tell you, like Jericho, Rey Mysterio messed up because he came out there full WWE gimmick, and the fans booed him for that because he was, baggy pants and everything, and they wanted Rey Mysterio in the tights and the original gimmick. But Jericho came out there in the Lionheart gear. And Lance Storm came out there looking like he was in the Impact Players with the gear he had then. But then, it started out as a one-on-one match, but then you had Justin Credible with the assist with the kendo stick popping Jericho in the head, and then you had the whole reunion, Jason and Dawn Marie out there too, the whole Impact Player reunion at the end. And to me, that was one of the everybody else has something else they like from it, but for me, that was a huge highlight. All
right, Joey, I'm about to pop you real quick. That's not just the coolest. That's not just the best. That's Justin Alberta, Canada. That's just incredible.
Good stuff, man.
Great stuff.
That's a truly underrated group there.
Man, oh my gosh, man. Woo. Got me over crying. Okay, I'm gonna take you back again. The Varsity Club.
Hey.
Wow.
The Varsity Club. Dude.
How you forget that? Man, that's so
good. Joey over there reminiscing, boy.
Captain Mike Rotundas.
Yes.
Rick Steiner, Dr. Def Steve Williams, Kevin Sullivan.
The Games Master, Kevin Sullivan. the leader and kind of the player coach again. He managed and he wrestled and stuff, and that was one thing Sullivan was good at.
Yeah, Mike Rotunda had a death grip on that World TV title
until Sting.
Actually, Rick Steiner beat him at Chi-Town Rumble, 87, 88.
But he got it back, didn't he? Because eventually we're trying to drop the Sting.
Here we go. NWA World TV title.
I'll look at it now.
He might have had it a couple times and didn't.
He might have, but I know that him and Dr. Dev beat the Road Warriors, Russell Ward for the tag titles. I know that.
And didn't Rick and one of the other was it Rick and Kevin Sullivan had the U.S. tag titles at one time too? Or
I want to say they did.
Yeah. They had the belts at one time.
I had to pull it up. I had to pull it up, but it is Yeah, they Sullivan and Williams had the US tag.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting tag team right there. Like,
Yes, it is. It is.
Wow. Okay. I got one more. I don't know if y'all will.
All right, but yeah.
I got Team Extreme.
Oh, there it is.
I took you back. Or I took you back.
I got Team Extreme. The Hardy Boys when Lita joined.
Is that really a faction?
Well, see, we said 3 or more.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Now, we all know the Hardys.
We did. We did.
I don't think
had
a title with the group, but I do like that group though. I did like them. We all know who really became the breakout star in that group. The mega star in that group, I should say.
Lita, right?
If you want to say, but okay. but I think Team Extreme, they had a decent run, but nobody really talks about them. You know,
I think it got more encapsulated. It was the Hardys more than Team Extreme.
I know. That's what I'm gonna get at.
Yes, Lita wrestled whatnot, but it's like it still was like the Hardys, you know.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm gonna get at. I think that's one of the reasons why they're going to break up, but I think the main reason why they broke up is because the I guess you say the real life drama that Lita and Matt.
Yeah.
It split up before that because that's when you're talking about Matt turning heel and going to SmackDown, turned on Jeff, went to SmackDown and did the version 1 thing long before that ever happened.
I love those Matt facts, by the way. Those are awesome.
That's when SmackDown was actually unique and different from Raw.
Version 1.
Starving himself to get down to cruiserweight.
Little detail. I like that though. I like that. That was good.
And he on the treadmill all the time. That's when he beat Rey Mysterio for the cruiserweight title. That was funny. I like that. That was funny.
I'm a stickler for those little details though. I was cool with that.
Yeah, that was funny as hell though. I liked it. I was like, what in the hell? Damn well he ended up weighing no cruiserweight.
Exactly, but they're still telling that story of him trying to make the way to, create some kind of real like, hey, you got to be at this weight to be in the division. It's like,
what was it? It was like 225 back then, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah,
something like that.
Eventually, the whole wrestling industry got smaller, and then it became 205, with most of them being like 150 pounds.
Yeah. Joey, talk to me about some of them Japan ones.
Oh yes. All right, so I'm gonna go on, and some AEW fans are familiar with it, but one of my favorites is Suzuki-gun.
Okay.
Which is led by everybody's favorite Japanese legend, Minoru Suzuki, the founder of freaking mixed martial arts, the guy that invented pancrase, and is a legitimate shooter. But yeah, a lot of people kind of missed out on that. That was a great group. I think I can't remember if it still has a presence at all, but I know Taka Michinoku was in it at one time. You had Lance Archer sometime. I remember when Minoru Suzuki is there, and he was kind of, like going to ringside with him, and I think they tagged up for AEW one time.
Mm-hmm.
But Archer's connection with that really was with him and Davey Boy Smith Jr. as the Killer Elite Squad.
Yeah.
As part of it, and their many runs as IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions and
NWA World Tag Team Champs,
and NWA and Global Honored Crown Tag Team Champions in Pro Wrestling Noah. When the whole faction actually went to Pro Wrestling Noah for about a year and a half, and they dominated. I believe Suzuki got a run with the Global Honored Crown Heavyweight title, and Lord knows, he's still. Let's be honest, Suzuki's one of those guys too in Japan. He's a true legend that he can get beat and nobody cares because you still want to see him because he's gonna do something. if you get in the ring with him, he's gonna mark you up. Like he's gonna, Daniel. They want to see Bryan Danielson wrestle him, and he gave Bryan a beating. He put him over, but he gave him a hell of a beating.
Now for you're our Japanese expert and whatnot. So, but I understand like they're Suzuki-gun, Chaos, Lij. I know Bullet Club is in there as well. The differences between the factions like in Japan versus what there are in the U.S. Is there like a?
Well, I mean, Bullet Club. People forget Bullet Club is supposed to be a Gaijin faction. It was founded on the premise of originally foreign talent all making it up. Now, eventually, we got Japanese stars, like when we got Taiji Ishimori got in it because he came in as Bone Soldier, even though I think the original Bone Soldier was somebody else under a mask, but then he was revealed like he was always Bone Soldier. But really, he had been in Impact Wrestling in America. And eventually it got heavier on Japanese talent. I think the first Japanese was, what's his name? Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp. Yeah. He was the original. He was the first like Japanese talent to be in it. But originally it was supposed to be you had Chaos kind of as the babyface faction. You had Suzuki-gun. You had certain groups as heel groups. But then Bullet Club was something kind of separate as a Gaijin faction, where this was more of foreign talent making it up until you got Evil taken, which I thought was a huge mistake. Like they pulled him out of LIJ and put him in Bullet Club and made him the heavyweight champion, which nobody cared about. And now he's got his own subgroup of Bullet Club called House of Torture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think they've kind of split off from Bullet Club now, where they're their own thing, House of Torture. And they've got the Never Openweight 6-man tag team championships. It's their own little subgroup. Yeah, LIJ's kind of hanging by a thread at this point. Like it's, some of them, they're not nearly as faction heavy. I never really think too much about Chaos anymore, just because most of the guys that were in that, to include Shinsuke Nakamura, who left, and he was part of Chaos. And you had, what's his name? Rocky Romero was in it, and he's not really wrestling much anymore. It's kind of dwindled down to where Okada's just kind of on his own. And they don't really have that much of a presence. They're just not as, they're not as faction heavy as they used to be in New Japan. But
okay,
yeah. I mean, they had there used to be a big group in All Japan called the Voodoo Murders, which Viscera was in, Rene Dupree. There was a ton of, but it was again a Gaijin type faction where it was a lot of American and North American wrestling talent kind of built up, and it just never really. I mean, All Japan is just kind of. They've lost the popularity they used to have over the years, and they're kind of the AWA of Japan now, where they've kind of failed to evolve and really don't have the power they once had.
Oh, like that's a pretty good take on that, man. I appreciate that, and
it was.
And that's like a good way to put a bow on this episode, man, as we come to the top of the hour.
Yeah.
So
hey, this was a good one, fellas. This was a good one. I didn't know what we're gonna end up going with this, but that was a real good one, man. Another great show we're having there.
Man, man. Like I was saying, there are different ways that we can go about doing it, and we literally did it, so it works.
It worked. And like we said, everybody, this was not a top 5. It was just something off the top of our head. Bring up a group, talk about it, act fool, reminisce. We might forget something, might add something. Whatever the case is. This all is it. We love talking wrestling. We're all huge wrestling fans. It's not just one promotion like myself. These guys are getting me more into other promotions. They don't know I have been watching other things that I haven't told them yet, but now they know.
I thought it was just Jade Cargill that you watch, other than WWE.
I'm just saying.
You only share stuff about Jade Cargill.
No. I've been watching a whole lot of other stuff.
I was waiting for him to talk about the baddies being a faction. I was waiting for him to do it. I was getting my signs ready.
No, I ain't gonna talk about that. I wasn't gonna talk about the 4 horsemen.
I don't know what to think about you, man up. I'm just saying, I gotta be prepared for everything with you. you be coming out of left field with me sometimes. So,
but this was cool though. This was fun. I loved it, fellas. We a little bit, just a tad bit past the hour mark. We got any closing statements?
Nope. I think we got it. I think we got it.
Definitely, man up. I want you to plug your YouTube channel here so they can know where they need to go and subscribe and like videos if you want to follow our podcast.
All righty. Thank you for that cheap plug, that cheap pop, as Mick Foley used to say. Mick Foley say cheap pop. Y'all can follow me on YouTube, Man Cave Sports TV. That's all separate words. Man Cave Sports TV. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Every time I do a video, you will be notified. If you don't get notified, y'all let me know in the comments, and I'm gonna see what YouTube got to say about all that. Now, I'm just joking. I can't do nothing about that. But anyway,
YouTube like. Delete it.
Team Hell No, that was a tag team. Come on with that Brown Tiger. We talked about this, man. Anyway, let's go ahead and end this show, fellas. This was fun. This was great. I love it. Another great show. Like I keep saying, I'm gonna say it again. Y'all stay tuned because we are planning to grow this thing. We are planning to grow this thing. We're going to try to take it further than what a lot of other people are doing. We got some great ideas. We talk behind the scenes all the time. We're going to make this thing happen. So that being said, for Mr. Cedric, Mr. Joey, and myself, man up, I got to kick y'all out of my man cave. Y'all been in here way too long.
Y'all got to go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Y'all overstayed your welcome. That being said, I'll holler at you.